Hi, and welcome back to part 5 of the fictional short story called Fake or Messiah. In the last part, Mary and Martha had just entered the studio and were finding their seat. There was a commercial break, and we go back over to the studio just as the presenter walks up to the camera following that commercial break. Welcome back to the debate, where, as you saw before the break, we were talking to Lazarus. And now we welcome his sisters, Martha and Mary. Good evening to both of you. Please tell us about your involvement with Jesus of Nazareth and the fact that your brother has already told us that he had died. Martha stood and spoke first. Sir, thank you for allowing Mary and myself into the studio. We were both followers of Jesus of Nazareth. And over time, both of us and Lazarus became good friends with him. In fact, quite often when he was passing our home, he would come in and we would prepare food for him. Can I ask you, what is your view on the question we are asking tonight? Jesus of Nazareth, was he a fake, or was he in fact the Messiah? Well, sir, my mind is definitely made up 100%. Jesus is without doubt the Messiah. He's the Son of God. People sat around the scribe started shouting, "Blasphemer! Blasphemer!" The presenter called for calm and for everyone to give Martha the chance to state her case. He turns to Martha. Tell me, Martha, what makes you so sure this is so? Basically, because he told us so. How many of you ever saw Jesus in the flesh? She looked around the studio and every hand was raised. She looked into the camera and into the eyes of all the people watching via their television sets. The people in Capernaum raised their hands, even though they could not be seen in the studio. They had definitely seen Jesus going about his business in their town. He made the town his home and he travelled out from there. He was one of them. Martha said, did even one of you hear him lie? Did any one of you see Jesus sin or break the laws of Moses in any way? The scribe thought, this could be really interesting, because the people sat all around him had often accused Jesus of breaking those very laws. Everyone waited for the hands of Jesus' accusers to go up, but they stayed down. Their faces were like thunder, but they were cowards. Even now they were cowards. Well, all but one was a coward. All but one was not brave enough to speak up. All but one, and his time was fast approaching. Sir, Jesus told us on many occasions that he was the Son of God. I remember him telling us that if we wanted to know what the Father was like, then we should just look at him. Not one of you ever heard him tell a lie or ever saw him sin. So when he says that he is the Son of God, then I believe him. The presenter turns to her sister and says, "Mary, tell us about the time that Jesus came to your house and your brother says he had died. What happened then?" Martha sits down as Mary stands. Martha squeezes Mary's hand to reassure her. She says Lazarus had been ill and his condition got worse. We sent for Jesus to come quickly because we knew that he would heal our brother, but he did not arrive in time. Lazarus died and he was put into the family tomb. Many people have come to our home from Jerusalem and many other places. You know, Lazarus was a good man. He was a popular man. So they all wanted to pay their respects. It was about 4 days later we heard that Jesus was on his way to our house. Martha went out to see him and gave him the news of our brother's death. Martha told Jesus that if he had been there, Lazarus would not have died. But Jesus said, "Your brother will rise again." Well, we both knew that this was true because Jesus taught that we will rise in the resurrection at the last day. But Jesus said to her, "I am the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me, though he may die, he shall live. And whoever lives and believes in me shall never die." Do you believe this? Martha said to Jesus that she did believe him and believe that he is the Christ, the Son of God, who is to come into the world. He then told Martha that he wanted to see me. So once I found out, I left. But a few people saw me leave and followed me. We were all crying and weeping. And I told Jesus that if only he had come earlier, Lazarus would be alive. Jesus looked so sad and asked me where we had laid our brother. So we took him to the tomb where many people were gathered. The scribe had been one in that crowd on that day and clearly remembered the moaning going on around him with people throwing scorn on Jesus. But he also remembered that many people were weeping, including Jesus. Mary looked at her sister, who stood up to take over the account. Martha said, "Jesus asked us to remove the stone that covered the entrance to the tomb. And a few of us helped each other to do that, but I didn't want to do it because Lazarus had been dead for 4 days and the stench would have been awful. But Jesus said to me, 'Did I not say to you that if you would believe, you would see the glory of God?' I believed him. Why wouldn't I? Because I knew for sure that he was the Messiah. He was the Son of God. Of course, I believed him. So as I say, a few of us, we rolled the stone away. And Jesus spoke to the Father. And he thanked him for hearing him. And told him that he was doing this so that people would believe who he was. He then stood in front of the tomb and cried out loudly, 'Lazarus, come forth.' The hairs on the back of the scribe's neck stood up on end as he remembered the next part of Martha's story. Martha paused and looked across at her brother, and she and Lazarus smiled to each other. Out of the tomb, my brother walked, dressed in the clothes that we had buried him in. His face was wrapped in a cloth, And on Jesus' instruction, we took all these burial clothes and the cloths off of Lazarus, and we rejoiced at his resurrection from the grave. Many of the people who saw this happen knew that this was indeed the Son of God and believed it to be so. Yet it grieves me that some of the Jews do not believe, despite seeing with their own eyes the evidence. Even now, they strive to persecute those of us that do believe, and they do it not for the worship of God, but entirely for their own interests. The presenter thanks Martha as she sits down. Many of those present knew the story of Lazarus, but few had heard it straight from the mouths of Martha and Mary. Okay, we'll take a short break before we go into the last part of the debate. The scribe realizes that this will be his opportunity to share his story to the greatest effect. He will be serving his Lord and Saviour. Once the commercial break is over, back in the studio, the presenter steps in front of the camera once more and says, "Welcome back to our debate, where we have asked, is Jesus of Nazareth a fake or the Messiah?" Now, the last time that we had the chance to look at the polls, we saw a fairly even number of votes on both sides of the argument. So for the final time, before we go into this last segment, here are the votes cast. Sorry, the presenter puts his finger to his ear and gets a message from the producer. It appears that the voting equipment has gone down and is no longer recording any of your votes. We will try to fix the fault, but in the meantime, who would like to speak? The scribe remembers how polite Lazarus and his two sisters had been. But this was too important to miss his chance, so the scribe jumps to his feet. One half of the audience, the religious leaders, are thrilled that one of their own will finish the debate. The other side, the ordinary folk, are dismayed. It seems to everyone that the debate has been fixed either to their argument or the others. But very soon they will all find out that all is not what it seems. Thank you very much for watching part 5 of the story, and we'll be going into the crucial part 6 of Fake or Messiah next time. Once again, thank you and God bless you. Goodbye.